City of Miami, Tomás Rivera.
Thank you, Vicky. I'd like to call Chairman Willie Ward, City Manager Daniel Alfonso, Deputy City Manager Alice Bravo, because this is a team effort. The administration working with the City Commission and the merchants, the business community in the City of Miami. Today is a very good day for the City of Miami. Today, officially, we are launching the City of Miami Investor Visa Regional Center. And this is important because we are the only city in the United States of America that owns and operates a regional center. Nikki Canton is the managing partner, and she will be explaining to you briefly and then on the conference what this means. But what this means for not only the City of Miami, but Miami-Dade County and neighboring counties is that we will have the opportunity to bring investment from foreign countries, but at the same time create jobs. So the most important, the core service of any municipal government is to protect and serve the residents, but also to make sure that the economy is good, and the only way to do it is through jobs in the community. So the bottom line here is that this model created by the United States Congress and that has been very successful in other areas of the United States will be used to create jobs in the City of Miami, will be used to bring investment to the City of Miami and neighboring communities. But most important, whatever revenues the city has in the future will be used, most of them, for public safety. Because through public safety, we have economic development. When the residents, the visitors, the tourists, the business community not only is safe, but they have the perception of safety, people will come up and invest in the City of Miami. It is my pleasure now to introduce the chairman of the City of Miami Commission, Commissioner Willie Ward.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I thank all of you for being here. This program was established over 15 years ago. It was not used as been used as much as in the last 5 years. But it's very important because not only you see all the developments taking place in Brickell, downtown, beyond me, but a lot of our neighborhoods right now, they need investment. They need new industry to go in there. And this is one way that we're going to be able to do it. We have been working on the infrastructures in a lot of this neighborhood to make sure that all the investments that we want to come into our neighborhood, especially in the retail section and the industrial part of the city, which we have a few within my district, this will be a welcome method to finance a lot of the projects that will go there. So I want to thank you all. We have thank all the individuals that made this possible. The expert that we have here today, because it's a little complicated, but they'll be able to explain it to you, the rules and the regulations you have to comply with. Thank you all. God bless you all.
And you know, it wasn't easy to get certified as an EEB5 regional center. It was a 2-year process and very hard work, but finally we're here. And I'd like to thank the administration, especially City Manager Daniel Alfonso and Deputy City Manager Alice Bravo, because they believe that we could do this, and they believe that the city will be able to be one of the catalysts for jobs and investment and progress city, and they believe in you because the small business community in the city of Miami is what drives the economic engine of the city of Miami. So it's my pleasure to introduce the city manager of the city of Miami, Daniel Alfonso.
Good morning, distinguished guests. I'm going to be brief. I'm just going to say thank you all for coming here. I want to thank Mickey Canton and all the effort that she has put into this, and the attorneys that have represented the process. We're very happy to have the designation of EB5, and we look forward to working with all the stakeholders to make the city of Miami a place where people can come, invest, and create opportunities for growth. So thank you very much, and thank you to the Commission for allocating the funds as we developed the staff that we needed, etc. So thank you very much. Have a wonderful day.
So to tell you basically how this work, we have here Mickey Canton. Mickey Canton, as you know, is a very well-known attorney that for more than 2 years she has been working along with our partners in Brigham Torek to facilitate this moment, and finally we're here. So it is my pleasure to introduce Mickey Canton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Chairman Gord, Danny, our manager, and all of you. This has been a labor of love. And as a labor of love, it's going to be completely guarded, safeguarded. We're going to work very hard together to make sure that this is the best, the very best EB5 Regional Center in the country. Not just publicly owned, but the privately owned sector better watch out. We have worked very hard and have done tremendous due diligence throughout the period that we put our application together. We recognize how important it is to follow all federal guidelines, because when you hear the presentations, you will see how strictly regulated a program like this is today. The program has been around a long time, and because it's been around a long time, people who didn't know too much about it, sometimes well-meaning people, committed mistakes, made mistakes. I stand before you on behalf of the City of Miami and the team that works with us, and all the members of those that are going to be working very hard to make this what the mission of the USCIS truly is for EB5 regional centers, which is to create jobs, to spur economic development in our community, and to add to the welfare, safety, and the well-being overall of every citizen, not just in the city of Miami, but in South Florida, which is actually where our regional center reaches. We are privileged that the federal government reviewed our application in very short speed, and also not only granted us the designation, but it came to us without any requests for evidence, questions, concerns. That in and of itself speaks tremendously for the effort of all of us in creating this application to be not only transparent, inclusive, and also visionary. Later on, I will discuss our business plan, and you will see how we differ in many other ways from other regional centers, and why the focus that I pledge to you today on behalf of the city to be totally transparent and accessible, and make sure that every single regulation that governs us is followed strictly and in the spirit of the law. You will see how our plan reflects the commitment that the City of Miami has made, not only because we recognize the honor and yet the responsibility that comes to us by becoming a regional center, wholly owned, managed, and operated by a city. Also, how it sets us out as the blueprint for other regional centers that other municipalities and states may follow, but also because we owe it to the citizens of Miami, the people at all levels that contribute to this city. I want to let you know that we are here today with some very significant members of our community. Of course, all of you who have taken time out to come and listen and understand and learn and see how we can partner with you. Because not only is our responsibility as a regional center to the people, developers, projects, future investors that may come, but also to the citizens and to people like you that may be involved in the whole process of the EB5, so that we educate you, so that we let you know what you can do, what you can't do, and not make mistakes that unfortunately other regional centers have made many times inadvertently in the past. We created the regional center with a purpose. We wanted to not only follow the letter of the law, the intent of United States Citizen Immigration Services when they created this program, but we also wanted to follow the mission of the city of Miami. And doing so, we realized that we needed, because we had very little funds, and we still do, we needed to add resources from our community and ask people in the community to help us make this dream come true. There were many initially because they really either didn't understand the regional center process or because they had heard that other regional centers that were privately owned had not done as they should have done. They were not there for us. And we said, okay, we're going to see. We're going to make sure you understand that we're going to get this done, whether you're with us or not. But then when we get it done, we want you to hop on board and join us. But there were people from the very beginning that believed in us and that went out of their way to assist us. And I want to thank them. I'm not going to name them, they know who they are, but I want to thank them in the name of the mayor, the commission, and the city of Miami, and all of the administrators that are here. To assemble the regional center, one of the requirements was that we needed to have a home for the regional center, which is where the regional center would exist. And therefore, we created the Office of International Business Development for the city of Miami, which is basically a group of people in our community who are involved in really corporate as well as many other areas that take them all over the world, and that their profile is known. We wanted to make them our ambassadors because we wanted them to be the face of what Miami stands for. And that wasn't easy because we have a lot of worthy folks, but we wanted to show pretty much how we were going to do this, and we assembled a wonderful group. Many of those people are not here. Some are in Europe, some are based elsewhere, some are on vacation. This is the time of the year when people do take a breather. But there were some that were here, and I want to acknowledge and recognize those that are here with us today. And for those that are watching but are not, I want also to thank you, and I know you're here with us in spirit. We have some amazing people in our community. People with stories that not only soften your heart, but make you very proud to be an American. We have folks such as Luis Capó, who is the founder of El Dorado Furniture. We have, happily and proudly, Miami-Dade College with us. Dr. Padron had an emergency on his way over, but we already had Dr. Montoya coming. He is here representing the Miami Chamber of Commerce was always our big supporter. And to represent the Miami Chamber of Commerce is a dear friend and someone who's been in our community a long time, Liam Ventura. I'm going to get this name right, because I usually don't. The ambassador to the United States from Thailand is on our international board, the Office of International Business Development Board. And he is not here. There has been a change, ambassadors change. But to represent him is someone who is here locally, who is a dear friend of the city of Miami, who is always the best representative for Thailand. And I know her name is Kanya. I always call her Kanya. Kanya A. But her name is Kanya Amorang de Kra. Amontelacun. I hope I had it. There is a very special person in the room here today that is very dear to my heart and the heart of many, and who many have always said was the man who built Miami, and that's Tibor Hollow. And frankly, our application would not have been given that A+ unless but for Tibor and his group, and lending us a project that is a marquee project throughout the United States. And when you look at the requirements of what the regional center's major projects should look like and how many jobs, because that's the key. Your key is job creation. How many jobs would be resulting from that? The Panorama Tower, though we are not advocating for it, we will have a bunch of projects in our portfolio. Panorama project was our hypothetical that we used to present our application, meaning if this is what we want to do, this is the kind of development we want. That project helped us a great deal getting approved because basically it met all of the requirements. So thank you, Tibor, for your support and for helping us very much. All right, so I'm going to turn it over to the mayor to close the conference, and then we will proceed with the actual educational conference. I hope that I have recognized everyone, that I have not left anyone out, but if I remember halfway, I will get up and recognize you, or if you remind me to make sure I will be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the question, and we want to recognize our city clerk, Dr. Hammond. Also the chairman of the Miami River Commission, Horacio Stewart Aguirre. Because we have a working river, and what you're going to hear today, the details from very interesting and knowledgeable attorneys is what you're going to take home, and what the city will work with throughout not only here in the U.S. But abroad. I just want to mention that this year Chairman Ward and myself, we went to Merida in Yucatan, and there we met a lot of people that will be coming here to Miami to invest. Not only that, as a result of our communications office effort, journalists from there were here, journalists from here were there in an exchange, and it so happened that because of that, Aeromexico has increased the number of flights between Merida and the city of Miami by 2 every week, and that's important because it means that tourism is flowing. Under Chairman Ward's initiative, the Puerto of Progreso has been coming to Miami to establish a direct line between the Port of Progreso in Yucatan and the Port of Miami. So we do not run the port, but we market the Port of Miami. We market Miami International Airport. And recently in Spain, the Greater Miami Chamber of Commerce were there. I can tell you that we're very happy because as a result of that trip, we have several more Spanish business coming to Miami in terms of wines. But one icon of Spain, Lladró, will be coming to the city of Miami to open a distribution center for the United States of America from Miami. So this is what we do through the Mayor's International Council, the Sister City program, and the EB5. Our mission is to market Miami in the world, and hopefully because of that, many people will be working soon and being able to support their families, which is the main goal of the EB5 Regional Center. Thank you.
Those of you that are standing, please, if you like, fine, there are seats. If we don't have enough seats, we will make provisions to get extra chairs for you. But I believe that we're pretty well covered. There are also the administration who wishes to remain, also has seats available here and here. And there will be a few chairs here, and so let's see how we can get everybody comfy, and then we can get to work. Now, the material that's going to be presented to you today is somewhat complex, but the reason that we want to make sure you see all of this and hear all of this is that I think it's going to alleviate a lot of questions and concerns that some of you may have as to how this program works, what the do's and what the don'ts are, and how we're going to make sure we monitor it very carefully. Remember, this is a project, a program under Homeland Security, because United States Citizen Immigration Services is under Homeland Security. So it's not what you may read sometimes, that it's a visa, pay your money, get your visa, not at all. And day in, day out, it is becoming more and more regulated, as it should be. One bad regional center gives the good ones a bad name. We've had that happen, and that, under our watch in the city of Miami, will not happen. And that's why we were educating everyone, and we're going to be holding these sessions often and probably not enough, because we want to be sure that everyone here walks away with an understanding. We're going to have what I believe to be the 2 stars of the EB5 program law. When I first began looking into the EB5 Regional Center, my knowledge was very limited. And in fact, when I started looking into this and I brought it to the mayor's attention, I was only aware of privately owned regional centers. A colleague of mine had brought this up to me, and I thought, let's look at it, and we did. My dream was, well, why don't we have a government-owned regional center operating? A lot of people said to me, well, you can't do that because you know how government works and how corrupt government can be and how money can be mismanaged. And I said, you know, I am one of the people among many that believe that government is a vehicle for doing good as opposed for doing bad. The ones that are going to go do bad can go do it, and I hope they get caught. But the ones that do good should do it and should have every resource available to them to do it. I thought my brilliant idea of having a government-owned regional center was so smart, but I found out that the state of Vermont had been running a regional center for years, since 1997, when the application was a page, and all you had to say was, I would like to have a regional center. Later on, I discovered that there are some government-owned regional centers which are administered and run by private companies. City of Dallas Regional Center is run by a group. And you will look, and you have many. But to my knowledge, and unless my lawyers tell me otherwise, we are the first to be fully, wholly owned and operated. And because of that, not only do we have to set the standard, but we also have to give the example and lead by example. Enough of that. I will now turn it over to the real experts. As I was telling you, when I started looking into this, everyone was an expert in EB5. You would read the blogs, you would read everything I got my hands on, and I'd see that this lawyer is an expert, and that lawyer and that firm is an expert, and then I took time to not only speak with them, but to research, and I found out that there are really very few experts. And the truth is that there are few experts because this is something that changes every day. The regulations change every day. But I found that there were some very fine lawyers that perhaps would be working with us, not to get paid a lot of money, but basically to try to do something that we believed was possible. And I therefore came across Laura Wright in the Washington office of a major law firm, and Steve Anapol in the San Antonio office of a major law firm, and two shining stars, one, Kate Kalenkov, who was actually, every time I looked at an article, Kate, Laura, they were all in there, and also Jennifer Hermansky. So with that team and their support, we started working very, very hard. Due diligence had to be done at all levels. And finally, last year, we felt comfortable that we had an A+ in terms of our application, and it was filed. And happily, 10 months later, the baby was born. So I'm going to turn it over to Laura. Laura is going to give you an overview of the national USCIS Regional Center regulations, the do's, the don'ts, people involved. She has done this probably a million times. And then I will tell you how we're doing it in the city of Miami, how our business plan is written. I am happy to share it with you. It's very simple, but it's also very intense as far as review. And then we're going to have Steve Anapol, who is the Securities and Exchange Commission expert, come in and tell you the do's, the don'ts, and also add a lot of knowledge that he has had. I want you to take away this basic information. I want you to feel free to email me. The card is out there. I also have for you out there the copy of the letter that designated the city of Miami a regional center. So you can take your time, read through it, and see exactly what we do and what we will be doing. I also want to tell you that although in Florida, and also in South Florida, Miami, there are many EB5 regional centers that are privately run. The city of Miami is not associated with any of those simply because we are independent and we have our own business plan. So please be sure that if you have any questions regarding how we are operating, you ask me. And if you have any interest in our center, you ask me, and then we will make sure you're always served well and that you walk away with lots of information. That's enough for me. I want to thank the staff that worked so hard to make this happen. The staff, both in the mayor's and the manager's office, the administrators in the manager's office, and all throughout the directors, and I will name them individually when it's my turn to speak, which I probably have done too much of already. So Laura Wright, who came in last night at 1 in the morning. So, but she seems pretty bright by now. Okay, go Laura.
There we go. I think that's on. Thank you so much, Mickey. I want to thank Steve, and I want to thank the mayor and the city council and Mickey and Mr. Hollow. It has been a real pleasure for the Greenberg-Traurig team, the EB5 team, to work with the city and with Mr. Hollow and his project, the Panorama Tower. on putting together this regional center application and having it approved. Steve is part of our EB5 team. We have an interdisciplinary team at Greenberg Traurig, as Mickey said. We have immigration lawyers. I'm a legislative lawyer as well as an immigration lawyer. Steve is a corporate securities attorney. We have real estate attorneys, real estate finance attorneys, about 25 attorneys that are dedicated to our EB5 team. And it's not just an immigration program, as you'll find out. It really does have a lot of corporate real estate finance issues that come up. But Mickey undersells herself. Mickey Canton is an incredible attorney. She came to me 2 years ago in Washington and said, I want to do a regional center for the city of Miami, and I want you all to help us. And we've done many, many regional centers, but she had a unique vision. She had done her homework. She knew all the ins and outs. She had visited every center that I think touched on any kind of government operation, including been to Vermont and Dallas and all over the place. So you have an incredible advocate and leader here in the city, and I really implore you to reach out to her, to talk to her about her in-depth knowledge of the center and how she's going to run it here, and we'll hear more about the business plan. What I'd like to do today is, and I suppose we can take questions if we have time.
Yes, there will be afterwards, we're going to get it scheduled so that we can take some questions.
What I want to do is talk a little bit about some basics, the EB5 program, what a regional center is, and then give you all kind of a legislative update from Washington. There have been some issues relating to immigration recently, as you all probably have seen, all kinds of issues, and I'll give you a little update on what's happening with the program. The program is not new. The program has been around since 1990. After I graduated from law school, I started doing EB5 visas. Most of the EB5 visas at that time were direct EB5 visas. Those were individuals who were coming to the country to invest in their own business and hire U.S. workers. That's how the program was originally started. It was supposed to be an investment vehicle for individuals to actually obtain their green card by investing $1 million and creating 10 U.S. jobs. Shortly thereafter, in 1993, Congress amended the 1990 Act and decided to expand it to what they call a pilot program, or the Regional Center Program. That program was a program that was going to expand the EB5 program so that investors could invest in a particular region, in a project in a particular region, invest, and that investment amount could either be $500,000 or $1 million, depending on some certain circumstances, plus create a job, create 10 jobs. So the Regional Center Program was started in 1993 as a pilot program. And since 1993, it has been reauthorized every 3 years as a pilot program. This pilot program is set to expire in September of 2015. But as I said, the Regional Center Program has been continually reauthorized. And we'll get into a little bit more of what's going on in Congress and what might happen with making the program permanent, which is something that both sides, Republicans and Democrats, support. So foreign nationals actually have many different ways to get permanent residence in the United States. The EB5 program became very popular because now you could invest in the U.S., like you could invest in Canada or in Australia, and you had a mechanism to get permanent residence. That permanent residence is temporary, it's conditional. You get a green card, a temporary green card for yourself and your family for 2 years. At the end of 2 years, you actually have to show that the investment was made into the project, the job-creating project, and you have to show that 10 jobs were created. And it's almost like the immigration marriage fraud law, where when you marry a U.S. citizen, you get married, you get a conditional green card, and then 2 years later, the government, USCIS, checks to make sure that that marriage was valid. So we do the same kind of thing with the EB-5 program. The investor invests, they show the initial investment, they show the initial plan for job creation, and then at the time of the removal of the conditions, they have to show the money was fully invested at risk and that the 10 jobs were created. So that program has been sustained. Congress loves the program. The president has made it very clear that this program is important to the U.S. economy, that it's important for us to encourage job creation. So the Regional Center program has kind of taken off. And I think really we saw a turning point in 2005 where the government decided to more fully embrace the regional center program. And you saw probably 150 to 200 regional centers applying for designation back in 2005, 2006, 2007. And when the market kind of crashed in 2008, we saw even more applications for regional centers. Well, what are regional centers? A regional center is an entity that applies to Homeland Security to designate a particular geographic region for sponsorship of projects like Mr. Hollow's project here in Miami. So the regional center makes an application and says, we would like to designate this particular region, and for Miami, it's Miami, Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach County. We think that region Homeland Security should grant a license to, and then through that regional center, we can adopt projects and create jobs. The beauty of a regional center is that as opposed to a direct investment, a foreign national applying to start their own business, the jobs that are created, not just the direct jobs, but the jobs are created in that region and even sometimes outside that region can be counted towards the job count. So for instance, if you have a hotel project in the region and the hotel project is going to hire 200 employees, the development of the project, the construction jobs that are included in the project, the jobs that are included in manufacturing the construction supplies can be counted in that job creation. And Congress thought that was a good thing, so that you don't have to count just the direct jobs. So regional centers have a distinct advantage in that they can count indirect and induced jobs in the job creation and therefore benefit more investors who are coming in. So a direct project that may only have 200 direct employees may have 2,000 indirect employees that are impacted. So regional centers get that additional benefit, and when we were going through the process with the City of Miami Regional Center, we employed an economist to look at that job creation. And the economist looked at the downstream and upstream jobs that were created, indirect and induced jobs, and said, a particular project is going to create X number of jobs. And at that point, you can decide how you're going to structure your investment, how many investors you can actually employ or bring into the United States in that project. So regional centers have obligations to accurately reflect the kind of jobs that are going to be created in their region. They have obligations to Homeland Security to report back who's invested in their projects and how many jobs are attributed to those investors. And that reporting requirement is pretty rigorous. It has to be done annually, and if it's not done, the center's designation can be pulled. And we have seen centers' designations be pulled. One of the other kind of issues with respect to direct investment is how much is that investment going to be? The investment level for the investor hasn't changed since 1990. The base amount is $1 million per investor. The investment must be totally at risk, and the investor has to be prepared to lose those funds. If the project is in what's called a targeted employment area or an area of high unemployment, the investment amount is $500,000. Since 2008, most of the projects that have been marketed through regional centers have been in targeted employment areas, and that's where we employ an economist as well. Each state generally designates what areas are considered targeted employment areas. The city of Miami got such designation for its first hypothetical project. So the base minimum amount for the investor would be $500,000, but still with the 10 job creation requirement. The other area where you can reduce the amount from $1 million to $500,000 is if you're in a purely rural area outside of a metropolitan statistical area, which is not the city of Miami's region. We are in a metropolitan statistical area. So the investment amount right now for the initial project is $500,000, and most of the projects around the country that are going through regional centers are in targeted employment areas. As the economy improves, which we all want it to improve, we are going to see more and more investments at the $1 million level, because there will no longer be, hopefully, the high unemployment that we've seen since 2008. The regional center has, as I've said, oversight authority of its projects. The projects are independent normally. They don't have to be real estate projects. They can be manufacturing projects. They can be projects that are distressed, that the city decides that those projects need to be saved, if you will, and saving jobs can be counted just as much as creating jobs if you've got the appropriate formula. So it doesn't have to be a real estate project. It can be a manufacturing project. It can be a high-tech project. We've seen film production projects. We've seen restaurants, agricultural projects, franchise projects, multifamily housing, wireless stores, academic institutions, expanding infrastructures, toll roads. We've seen probably about everything you can think of in terms of EB5. A lot of developers use these projects, use the EB5 regional centers, but it really is open to new businesses, new commercial enterprises, and job-creating entities in all different kinds of sectors. As we were talking to the gentleman who started the El Dorado furniture manufacturing project, if there was something that he wanted to do to expand his warehouse capacity, EB5 could be used for that. So the regional center is going to be looking at those projects, seeing what fits its model, and how doing its due diligence to make sure that it feels comfortable with that particular project. And obviously Mr. Halu's project was a very comfortable project. But it really is open to all different industries. The regional center has been designated and usually gets designated for particular industries in a particular region, but that doesn't mean that it can't expand those industries for the region if it wants to. We had a seminal memo that came out from Homeland Security in May of 2013 that allows for expansion without a formal amendment process. So I know Mickey's thinking about all different kinds of things that could be done with the regional center. The center has to track, as I said, all of the petitions that go in from every investor. So it's very important that even at the investor level, we have the right type of people. The right type of people applying, the ones that have the funds. The government is very particular, as you can imagine, in doing background checks on every single investor that comes in. They must be able to invest the amount. They must be able to show that they have the funds, that those funds were lawfully gained. They must trace the funds meticulously from whence they came. So if a parent died and the funds were willed to them, they're going to have to show that transaction. They're going to have to show that the funds were lawfully sent out of their home country into an account and actually invested in the job-creating project. So that tracing and sourcing of funds is very key. It's also extremely important that the individual has no criminal background, and otherwise it makes no sense. So So the regional center is going to be tasked with looking at the investors as well as the project. We talked a little bit about indirect job creation. I think what I want to do is reinforce with you that this program is highly regulated. We find it to be very fascinating. It is an extremely complex puzzle. And as Mickey said, it is changing every day. There are new pronouncements coming out of the Securities and Exchange Commission. Steve will talk to you a little bit more about that at a later time. But it's in flux right now in terms of how it's being administered in Washington, D.C. They have new leaders in Washington and new adjudication methods in Washington, and indeed new adjudicators. It is a highly touted program. Both Republicans and Democrats like the job-creating foreign investor program. They think that this is what America should stand for, and there have been some pretty significant pieces of legislation that have passed just recently. Last June, in June of 2013, the massive immigration reform bill, the comprehensive immigration reform bill that passed the Senate as 744, included a whole section on the EB-5 category that supported the program, made the regional center program permanent, and had a lot of different benefits in it that would extend the program. That was a bipartisan bill that was passed. On the House side, we've seen similar pieces of bipartisan legislation, which we've supported in coalition. And the City of Miami is participating in an EB-5 coalition with a lot of other trade associations and large businesses who are supporting administrative and legislative changes. But we are seeing both the Democrats and the Republicans supporting making the regional center program permanent, so we don't have to extend it over and over, and then making significant changes to increase the visa numbers in the program, and so that there's not just this straight 10,000 visa numbers every year that are allocated, and making some of the administrative bumps in the road more understandable to the EB-5 community, so that when precedents are set, they're maintained. So even though we're probably not going to see immigration legislation go through in this Congress, as you know, Congress every 2 years turns over, and we have elections in November of this year. There are many other more pressing issues right now that are driving Congress kind of away from the immigration debate. The influx of the 50,000 children, 50 to 60,000 children who've come across the border has kind of put a hold on the Republicans pushing immigration reform through the House of Representatives. But what we are going to see is another attempt in 2015 to get EB-5 legislation through, probably as a standalone. And that will be a bipartisan effort in Washington to make the program permanent, to increase the numbers, and make some other significant changes. We've also heard from this administration, the Obama administration, that we will be seeing administrative relief that will be coming from this administration. We've already got the Deferred Action Program that went into effect 2 years ago, and the coalition met with the administration last week, and we put up some pretty significant administrative solutions that could help us in the interim while we wait for legislation. But suffice it to say, in Washington, the EB-5 program is not on the chopping block. It is a program that is embraced. But as I like to say, and I think this was Ronald Reagan's, Ronald Reagan said, trust but verify. I think what we're seeing is trust the program, trust that immigrants want to come here for good things. They want to create jobs. They want to invest in the United States. But let's verify that the regional centers and the projects that are being embraced by regional centers are being done by good actors who are in full compliance with the law. And also, let's just verify that the investors are the people that we want to be here. And if we do that, then I think we've got a good program. And I'm just so thrilled that Miami has stepped up to the plate to actually be the first municipality that's going to run their own regional center. And this business plan, I looked at it again last night when I got in. It's very comprehensive, and it's thanks to Mickey Canton and her team here for putting this together and really making a commitment to running probably a platinum regional center. All right.
Thank you very much, Laura. There will